All right, everybody, it's finally time. We are here at the Arizona Regionals 2017 finals. Zach Miller versus Riley Factura. Again, for those of you just tuning in, my name's Gabby Snyder. I'm here with Jason Krell, and we are ready to
Wrong hand.
bring you this game.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Both these players very good. Riley, a former regional winner last year in Utah. Zach, actually, this is probably his best finish, I would say, in a live competition. He did have that international challenge second place earlier in over the summer, but
Yeah.
this is definitely a different kind of competition, a much tougher kind of competition.
I don't know about that. I mean, everybody has their own opinion about international challenges. In my opinion, I almost think they take more stamina than a regional. So I'm not surprised to see him do so well here today.
That makes
Being
sense.
able to play, 10 games a day over the span of a weekend and to only really lose 2 or 3 games at that point out of a total of 45 is, quite the accomplishment. So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a fair
that
point.
while this is his first time, doing so well at I guess, in
Live
real
event?
life
Yeah.
live event. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
That's the right way to say that. He certainly, has proved that he's had the stamina in the past, and we'll see if he has the stamina to go for it now.
Yeah, and you know what else I'm really excited about, Gabby, is that we're not going to have a restricted pair mirror match. We have seen two. We've seen a couple dual primals mirrors. We've seen a couple of Xerneas Groudon mirrors. In this case, though, it is going to be Xerneas Groudon versus Groudon and Kyogre. It'll be very interesting. Hopefully, give you guys out there who are watching a sense of the metagame because this is the first event that we've had post Worlds, everyone's first chance to see what some of the best players in the country are using. Orlando in a couple weeks will give everybody a second shot to see that, but it's going to be important for seeing what's popular for the remainder of the 2016 season.
Yeah, that's correct. And I really want to call out the fact that, Zach has done something really interesting. He's taken a core that I think everybody has known really well going into, Worlds, going into this regional championship, that Xerneas Groudon core, and made it his own. Having that flamethrower, having that eruption on his Groudon. I don't
And
think
being
we
slow.
saw that third move on it in the entirety of the last 2 games. Being slow, just he does his own thing with it. And again, for those of you who are just tuning in, his team is Xerneas Groudon, Amoonguss Gengar, Kangaskhan Talonflame against Riley's Kangaskhan, Groudon, Kyogre, Cresselia, Bronzong, and Whimsicott.
And honestly, I think we're going to see that Gengar more because it definitely threatens the Cresselia and the Bronzong, which I'm sure, almost positive, Riley will probably want to bring at least one of them to these games. Actually, you know what, though? Actually, I don't think we'll see either of those Pokemon. I think we'll see the Whimsicott.
I hope we see the Whimsicott. I've
Yeah.
been saying that for the past 2 days.
Right. Well, it's definitely vulnerable to a Talonflame on Zach's side. However, Zach doesn't have a Trick Room option himself. So if Riley can get the Tailwind up, he'll have a huge advantage over the Xerneas, over his other Groudon. And the other thing is, he'll have an easier time controlling the weather. The fact that Zach doesn't have any rain on his side of the field is going to mean that Groudon's always going to be able to use Fire Punch whenever Riley wants to. Could come in handy against that Gengar, against Amoonguss, things like that. So
Yeah.
it should be a very interesting first game.
It's going to be a very interesting first game, even just by these leads. We see Kangaskhan, Xerneas on Zach's side of the field against Riley's Groudon and Kangaskhan. So we've seen Riley use this Groudon Kangaskhan lead before. It's a very offensive mode, I think, for him.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to be looking to start dealing some really big damage, especially onto that Xerneas, before it can set up Geomancy or before it can do whatever else it wants to do here. The big question, I think, is, what are these Kangaskhan's going to do? Who's faster? Who's going to get that fake out?
Yeah, and as we've seen, Riley is almost exclusively gone for the fake out onto the other Kangaskhan. So it's really going to be interesting to see, A, whether his Kangaskhan is faster, whether Zach will Mega Evolve. It should be very interesting. You also don't want to let that Xerneas get a free Geomancy boost if you can help it.
Yeah, you really don't want to give Xerneas Geomancy for free. We're going to see Kangaskhan on Riley's side of the field Mega Evolve first. Zach's Mega Kangaskhan showing up immediately afterwards, so it's yet to be determined if that was a speed tie or if that's just the way things are. We're going to see Riley's Kangaskhan move first again, going for that fake out into Xerneas. So no Geomancy this turn, no damage from that Xerneas this turn. It looks like Kangaskhan, though, on Zach's side of the field did not go for a fake out. Instead, it's going to double edge that Groudon immediately, bringing it down to just below half health, dealing a ton of damage to it right off the bat. Groudon finishing up this turn with the Precipice Blades. The big question here, does it connect with both Pokemon on Zach's side of the field? It does. It doesn't deal enough damage for a knockout, but it puts both Pokemon in, pretty easy knockout range.
And I think as much as that damage is nice on the Groudon, I think that might have been a mistake on Zach's part, because what Riley can do now is go for an attack onto the Kangaskhan, let the Xerneas set up if it wants, maybe get off a weaker Moonblast or even weaker Dazzling Gleam, and then just Fire Punch the Xerneas and take the knockout, putting him up 2 Pokemon. I think unless the Kangaskhan on Zach's side of the field goes for a Sucker Punch, we're not going to see it get a chance to do any damage this turn. Of course, we could also see some switching on Zach's side to protect or readjust, but we could also see this protect here.
Yeah, so we're going to see that Xerneas protect itself this turn. Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan on Riley's side of the field, though, not targeting the Xerneas. Instead, it's going for the knockout onto Kangaskhan, and it just barely gets it, so we're not going to see Kangaskhan on Zach's side of the field do any damage this turn. And now his Groudon is free to do whatever it wants. It did target that Xerneas with a Fire Punch.
Yeah, and that was a very smart play from Riley. He recognized the fact that Zach absolutely had to go for a non-priority move there, letting him just use Sucker Punch to win. But now that he brought this Talonflame out, he's going to be able to threaten the Groudon with priority, though I don't know if that picks up a knockout. The Groudon is very bulky, and while Talonflame is very strong, it could be an even trade. Might depend on some items here, whether the Talonflame is holding a Life Orb, how its attack is invested, things such as that. And at the same time, I don't see this Xerneas living without or surviving this turn without switching out, because again, Talonflame can only target one of these Pokemon, and so Riley's guaranteed going to be able to get an attack into that slot.
Yeah, we're going to see that Xerneas switch out. Amoonguss taking the field in its place, kind of an interesting play, especially if Riley went for a Fire Punch. Wow, Brave Bird gets the knockout on Kangaskhan there. Going to deal a ton of recoil damage. Talonflame is also going to take some Life Orb damage, so we know that it's holding a Life Orb now. Groudon does go for that Fire Punch into Amoonguss, and wow, honestly, I think it burnt that mushroom to a crisp.
Yeah. And that was a very good play on both players' parts. The Flare Blitz was a nice tech that was able to take advantage of the harsh sunlight that Groudon brings and get a knockout onto that Kangaskhan. It is now down to about half health, which isn't ideal, but there's not a whole lot Riley can do to touch it other than Fire Punch. He does have another Pokemon. He does have Pokemon in the back, but at the same time, all we have on Zach's side of the field is that Xerneas, which is heavily damaged. Though now seeing a Bronzong come in for Riley, that's a little problematic. Another Flare Blitz is definitely not going to be appreciated.
It's not going to be appreciated, but, if he has that Kyogre in his last slot of the party, switching it in now will guarantee that Bronzong will not be knocked out this turn. Between a Moonblast and a Brave Bird, it will not do enough damage, and if Talonflame goes for another Flare Blitz, that's obviously going to sizzle out in the, storm that Kyogre brings with it out onto the field. So if Riley wants, this would be an amazing opportunity to attempt to set up Trick Room to regain that speed control. And we do see the Groudon switch out, and we do see the Kyogre come in. So if this is what Riley wants from this game, this is almost a guaranteed Trick Room for him. If it's not what he wants from this game, he still is free to possibly set up Gravity, maybe Skill Swap, or even Gyro Ball that Xerneas for the knockout. It all depends on what his priorities are, and we will see what they are momentarily. First, we are going to see Talonflame go for a Flare Blitz. It does not do any damage. Xerneas with that Moonblast targeting the Kyogre slot. He was really... Zach was really counting on that Flare Blitz to get the knockout. We're going to see a Gyro Ball from that Bronzong pick up the knockout onto Xerneas, and now I believe Zach is down to his final 2 Pokemon in this game.
No, that's actually it. It's just the Talonflame.
Never mind.
The Kangaskhan, the Groudon, and the Xerneas have all gone down. There's no way he's going to win this match. Even if Talonflame somehow did survive a Scald from Kyogre, which it just never could. Not with all the drops in the world. Talonflame only has attacks that deal recoil to itself, and it also has the Life Orb, so eventually it would have knocked itself out. There's no way it was going to be able to take down all 3 Pokemon.
Yes, definitely. And, when you keep in mind the fact that Zach was down to his last 2 Pokemon, which my brain, missed on a little bit for a second there. Switching in that Kyogre really made sense there because it guaranteed him to do the damage he needed to lock down the win for that game. So again, we're seeing that amazing board positioning by Riley that has really kind of carried him through, I think, through Swiss yesterday, through Top Cut today, and into the finals.
Yep, and actually I am so excited for this game now because Zach definitely needs to adjust if he wants to keep his hope of winning this regional alive. And on the other hand, Riley is just one game away, just a few good predictions and some smart moves away from being the regional champion, winning his second regional, and actually
winning $1,000, honestly.
yeah, and actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure Utah was one of the last regionals of the season last year, so he just went from one regional win straight into Arizona, which is the first regional of the season, into another one if he's able to pull this out. Zach, though, back up against the wall, is definitely going to have to bring different Pokemon, I think, if he wants to win this game.
Yeah, we're going to see Riley lead with the same two Pokemon. Again, that Groudon and Kangaskhan into Zach's Gengar and Kangaskhan. So interesting that it looks like Gengar is the adjustment on Zach's side of the field. Maybe he was expecting to see Riley's, something else. Maybe that Cresselia? I really don't know.
Yeah, the other problem, I mean, the Focus Sash will come in handy for the Gengar. It's going to help it live. However, if it attacks, Sucker Punch is super threatening. It's going to be able to take it out no problem. And then you can just Fire Punch into the Kangaskhan, do about half damage, and then finish it off with what seems to be your own faster Kangaskhan after the fact. However, we don't know what this Gengar has on it other than Shadow Ball because we only ever saw it use that one attack in the game against Patrick. So if it depends, does it have Will-O-Wisp? Does it have Disable? It's going to be very interesting to find out, and it might be the difference in this game. However, Gengar just doesn't do a whole lot of damage to either Groudon or Kyogre, so I'm inclined to believe it has a lot more of a supportive moveset. We might see Icy Wind. I imagine it also has Sludge Bomb. It has to have Sludge Bomb. But so that's two of its moves, I imagine, pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah, so we're going to see Kangaskhan on Riley's side of the field, Mega Evolve again. Not sure if Zach's going to go for the Mega Evolution. It does. So, we have two Mega Kangaskhan again. We saw Riley's Kangaskhan be consistently faster than Zach's last game. Whether or not that continues on, it looks like it doesn't. Zach actually goes first with that Fake Out into the Groudon slot. It's going to prevent it from dealing any damage this turn. Riley's Kangaskhan, actually, it didn't go for a Fake Out. It went for Power Up Punch into that Kangaskhan. It's going to get to +2. Certainly going to threaten that Gengar immensely with a Sucker Punch. So it's going to come down to, does he have that Will-O-Wisp? Is he going to go for the burn onto Kangaskhan?
Wow.
We actually see Gengar use Trick Room. Gengar does learn Trick Room. I've seen it be used as a Trick Room setter before, but it's very unusual because when you think Gengar, you think fast and you think powerful. You don't think of the slow bulk like Cresselia and Bronzong, who are usually needed to get that Trick Room up consistently.
No, and the other problem for Zach now is that I'm pretty sure the Groudon is going to be able to get off an attack first. And if the Gengar is not being very threatening, well, you know what? I think Riley is free to just Sucker Punch the Gengar here in case there is an attack move. And then, yeah, Groudon can just go for a very, very powerful Eruption.
Yeah, Gengar paving the way for Groudon to get an Eruption out on the field with almost full health. It misses the knockout on Kangaskhan by a little bit. Kangaskhan going for that low kick into Riley's Kangaskhan, picking up that knockout, leaving Gengar at its Focus Sash here, free to attack, free to otherwise set something up. We're not going to see any more setup. Gengar going on the offensive with that Shadow Ball, bringing Groudon down to less than half health, dropping its special defense, and, further weakening that Eruption that we saw at the beginning of this turn.
Yeah, I definitely think now that is an adamant Kangaskhan. Low kick does not usually pick up the knockout without being adamant. And at the same time, it kind of fits within the Trick Room, right? And make sure that your Kangaskhan is going to be able to underspeed other Kangaskhan. However, being able to bring out the Bronzong now is going to give you the slowest Pokemon in Trick Room. And really, Kangaskhan's got 4 HP. Gengar has 1 HP. Either of these Pokemon is going to go down to a Gyro Ball, and whatever else Groudon is going to do. You might see a Sucker Punch, try and get some last-minute chip damage onto the Groudon. But at the same time, the other problem for Zach, he can't safely switch in that Xerneas because he might be gambling with which spot the Bronzong is going to target. So
Yeah, and it's still very interesting that we saw that trick room from Gengar there. It's really hard to determine if that was part of Zach's strategy or if maybe that was a mistake or a misplay on his part. It seems like he's really given the momentum to Riley. We're going to see Gengar switch out. I'm not sure, though. I guess Amoonguss could help here. It could help put Pokemon to sleep. But at that point, he would still essentially be stalling out his own trick room. Sucker Punch from that Kangaskhan will connect with Groudon. It's not going to deal a lot of damage. Bronzong going
Great
for a
play.
safeguard, so Amoonguss isn't going to be able to spore any Pokemon anymore. It's going to be able to redirect attacks, I guess, but I don't think that's going to be enough to help him here. Eruption from that Groudon locking down the knockout on Kangaskhan.
yeah, because you know what? Now what we're gonna see is we're going to see Xerneas probably come out because Gengar's got 1 HP. It's not helping at all. So Xerneas, or yeah, and now that the safeguard up, Amoonguss isn't really going to do much. Oh no, that's right. He still has 4 Pokemon. His Groudon can come out now and threaten with Precipice Blades. So really, it's going to come. Oh no, that's right. I keep forgetting. I'm forgetting everything today. This is a special Groudon.
It is a special Groudon. We don't know what ground type attack, if any, it's carrying. And we don't even know whose Groudon is slower here. I'm assuming Zach hopes that it's his own, but still, I mean, Riley has so much momentum right now. If he has that Kyogre in the back, I mean, yes, there is an Amoonguss still on the field, but I would think that, without Safeguard on Zach's side of the field, if his Bronzong has that Hypnosis, he could put that Amoonguss to sleep, or he could just go for a Precipice Blade, send in his Kyogre now, and I guess hope that he doesn't, leave his Kyogre susceptible for a Giga Drain or a Grass Knot or whatever other offensive move that Amoonguss could be carrying. It's certainly a very interesting field position here with the rain up, with both Groudons on the field, with Trick Room up. We're going to see Riley's Groudon protect this turn, so I think he's looking for his Kyogre to sort of carry him through. Grass Knot from that Amoonguss not going to connect with Groudon. Earth Power, though, we finally see the ground move on Zach's Groudon. It does a decent chunk of damage to Kyogre. I think it comes down to how much damage that Grass Knot is going to do to Kyogre, and will it be enough to knock out?
Yeah, but the good news for Riley in this case is that Kyogre is a specially bulky Pokemon, and Groudon having only access to Earth Power, we did see it did a respectable amount of damage, but that's definitely not as much as a Precipice Blade would have done. So Kyogre is going to be able to survive, and you know what? If he ignores the Groudon, Riley's Groudon, it's going to be able to get off a Precipice Blade and do a lot of damage to Zach's Groudon and a little bit to Amoonguss.
Yeah, so Amoonguss is going to switch out here. It's going to regain most of its health if it has that Regenerator ability. Riley, though, switching out his Kyogre, which arguably gave him a really strong board presence going into this turn for his own Bronzong. So not really sure what he's looking for here. We're going to see Groudon protect, so maybe he's hoping that, Groudon can target the other slot. Okay, yes, so he was hoping that without the rain on the field, the Fire Punch would have been enough to knock out that Amoonguss, and Bronzong would have survived the Grass Knot that Amoonguss would have used. We're going to see Trick Room run out. We did just see Gengar get knocked out, so as long as Riley doesn't set up Trick Room again, I think the speed is definitely in his favor right now. It's all going to come down to how he handles this Groudon Amoonguss matchup.
Yeah, and I think as long as he's able to take out this Amoonguss with a Fire Punch here, and again, it comes down to speed. I'm not 100% sure yet whose Groudon is slower. We've just kind of seen them protect while they've both been on the field, taking turns doing that. But if Riley can get a Fire Punch onto the Amoonguss, he can bring in his Kyogre, which is almost basically at full health. No, well, it did take that Earth Power. But it's definitely healthy enough to Scald first and take out the Groudon, guaranteed, and lock up this win for him. So this might be the turn that decides it all. If Riley gets this Fire Punch off, he is almost certainly guaranteed to become the Arizona Regional Champion, and this is also Zach's last chance to win, to come back and take this to Game 3.
We're going to see Amoonguss start this turn off with the Protect. Groudon on Riley's side of the field going for Precipice Blades. It will connect with Groudon on Zach's side of the field. It is not enough for a knockout. That Groudon surviving with 51 HP, using an Earth Power to knock out the Groudon on Riley's side of the field. It's all down to what did this Bronzong do, and will it be enough to lock down the game. We saw it go for a Safeguard, so that's really hard to determine if that was just there was no other good play
Yeah.
for Riley, or if he miscounted his own safeguard turns.
No, I think it was mostly just that he knew a gyro ball was going to do no damage to the Groudon, and definitely no even less damage to the Amoonguss. And it might have been even saving PP, but probably just didn't want to maybe just didn't even want to spend any time wasting the animation. You know, some of these players are conscious of timer. We do have 6 minutes left and only 2 Pokemon on either side of the field, so it's definitely problematic. The problem for Riley though, well, you know, not actually much of a problem. He can't go for a Scald because Amoonguss could just redirect it with Rage Powder, but a Water Spout is definitely going to be able to pick up the knockout onto the Groudon. The problem though becomes, how much does Grass Knot do to Kyogre? Is it going to be able to take out the Groudon and then take out the Amoonguss with an Ice Beam, or is it going to have a problem, and is this Amoonguss going to be able to pick up a 2-hit KO onto the Kyogre? It's really a tough call, and it looks close, and then it becomes this really awful matchup between Bronzong and Amoonguss, in which case it might come down to timer, because Amoonguss is not going to be able to touch Bronzong, Bronzong's not going to be able to touch Amoonguss, but there are good odds that Amoonguss will take more damage from thanks to the Kyogre than the Bronzong will take from anything on Zach's side of the field. So
Yeah.
I think that Riley is in an amazing position, and in the next couple turns he might be able to put this away.
Yeah, I think Riley is definitely playing down to timer right now. I mean, it's possible that Zach is as well. You know, knowing that there's a very strong likelihood that this game could come down to that Bronzong versus the Amoonguss. But, you know, there's still a lot of Pokemon to be played in the interim. We're going to see that Kyogre go for a Protect this turn, again stalling for time, revealing that Amoonguss has Protect. Earth Power from that Groudon not going to deal any damage. Bronzong is free to Gyro Ball the Amoonguss, possibly trying to see how much damage it does. I believe that only did like 12 HP, if that.
Not a lot.
Not
Maybe
a lot
13.
at all.
Yeah, but I think that was not Zach. That was Riley trying to predict the Protect on the Groudon, but instead Zach went the other direction. Protected with Amoonguss. Well, tried to, failed, of course, but went for an attack on the Kyogre. I don't really know. I think that play kind of worked out for Zach's favor, coincidentally, but I think it was super risky for him to do that, and he wouldn't have been able to get off damage onto the Kyogre anyway. It would have probably been safer to do something into the Bronzong. Oh, he can't actually touch the Bronzong at all. It has Levitate, and the rain is up, so that's 100% safe. I guess he really didn't have many other options.
Yeah, Water Spout from that Kyogre will seal the knockout against Groudon. It continues to do more damage to Amoonguss, so even if it does go to timer in this game, as long as Amoonguss is able to knock out at least one of Riley's Pokemon, then we could still see a Game 3. Here comes that Grass Knot. It does target that Kyogre. Will it be enough? And it is not. Kyogre is still on the field. It's able to Ice Beam next turn, and I believe all Riley has to do to lock in the win is whittle down that Amoonguss's HP, but it looks like we see a forfeit from Zach. We'll just have to wait a moment here to see, you know, once the turn starts, whether or not that was what was actually clicked in. It is. So Riley Factura is your 2017 Arizona Regional Champion. Congratulations to both of these trainers. You know, they played very well, and that was just a really exciting match to see.
Yeah, and that was just proof. Riley is able to dominate that game, control the weather, and mitigate the effectiveness of the Kyogre, or not the Kyogre, the Xerneas, which we didn't even see in Game 2. The Gengar not really helping as much as I think Zach would have liked it to, but I think that what this win means for Riley, and we'll ask him that himself, but I think this is just more proof that he is one of the better up-and-coming players in the country. He's now got 2 regional wins under his belt. He's on a pretty good tear. I know he had good finishes. He has 3? Oh, what's the third regional? Or the other? Seattle. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he did win Seattle this year.
No, not this year. Tommy Nishimura won this year.
Okay.
All right, well, either way. So now he's got 3 regionals under his belt. My mistake. Good finishes at Nats and Worlds. And he's off to a great start for his 2016 season. He's got a large chunk of championship points and he is well on his way to getting his Worlds invite, and probably well on his way to getting a Day 2 invite if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, so both trainers have stepped away for a moment. I believe they're handing in their match slip. There's probably going to be a short ceremony awarding trophies to everyone now that we have concluded. So we're going to put the stream on standby. We'll get Riley back once he's done to do an interview. But, before we cut away, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for watching, because I know some people probably won't stick around for the interview.
Yeah, that's a good
So I'm
point.
just going to talk to you now while you're here. Thank you guys so much. If you have any constructive criticism on the stream, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Jason on Twitter. I'm Ibudoof on Twitter. He's Krell like it is. We saw over the weekend that there were some very constructive comments, and we've tried to work them in as we moved along, and we will certainly keep them in mind. I don't know when you're next commentating, but I'll actually be back in a couple weeks in Orlando. So
That'll be super exciting.
I am so excited, especially after seeing these games today. Orlando's going to put on an amazing stream, and I really hope to see all you guys there.
Yeah, and I just want to take a second to thank you guys for coming out. We wouldn't be able to do these streams without you. I think we've had fantastic viewership for this, and considering this is kind of really a grassroots effort, just kind of putting this together ourselves, making sure that we get the Pokemon content to the community. So we're very grateful. As for me, I will be back probably at San Jose. One way or another. I'm going to try to be at some other regionals and do commentary there, but this is definitely not the last you've seen of me either. So until then, Gabby, I think you'll do the interview with Riley? Or?
All right, sure. I'll be happy to. So yeah, they've just started the award ceremony now, so we will be back momentarily with that interview with your 2017 Arizona Regional Champion, Riley Factura. Thanks you everybody for watching. And we're back. Here he is, Riley Factura, your 2017 Arizona Regional Champion. I see you have the trophy right there. Do you want to show it off?
Yeah, sure.
So, congrats, man. This was your third regionals win. Does it get any easier?
I feel like it does, honestly. I get better as I go, and obviously, I feel like I'm not the best player, and I could have made better plays during the tournament, and that's just what I'm growing to be as. I feel like I have a lot more room for improvement still.
Yeah, I think everybody does at a certain level, but the way that you were able to handle that pressure, handle that stress, you could tell you were just sitting over there, kind of leaning back a little bit, making your moves, making your plays. It seemed like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were able to kind of control the field and force your opponents to play your game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, your past tournament experience really shows through in that regard. So it was an awesome game to watch.
Yeah, it was. I game planned pretty well just so I can get into the position I want.
How do you manage that? Is there a certain thought process that you walk through as you're going through games, or do you just kind of take it one turn at a time?
Before the match, I think about the entire game plan. How am I going to KO all four of my opponent's Pokemon? Or do I need speed control in order to do so? Am I going to need to, I'm using double primal, so am I going to need to switch around with the weathers or utilize skill swap? And then obviously during the game, I try to think as many turns ahead as possible. So you don't want to get into a position where the turn ahead will get you into a sweeping position. So I guess when I was playing, I can't remember who it was. But
no worries. It's been a long weekend for everybody. I think.
Yeah, it was a really long day. Yesterday we played 12 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think there was a turn where I used Fake Out and then Eruption, and then I did a lot more damage than he did to me. But the turn after that, he was in a winning position to where no matter what I did, he was able to sweep through. So maybe if I hadn't made that play and I would have made a different play, I would have prevented that from happening.
Yeah, well, it worked out, all things considered. You're here as the regional champion, so that's pretty great. If it's all right with you, I'd like to talk about the team a little bit more because, you mentioned you had multiple options for speed control, skill swap, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that? In terms of both, ensuring that you still get the damage output you need and just, how do you manage team preview with just so many options?
Mm-hmm. So I guess the main goal of this team is to do a lot of damage with Groudon and Kyogre with either P-Blades, Water Spout, or Eruption. And in order to do so, I needed speed control such as Icy Wind, which would help against Kyogre teams. And opposing double primal teams, and I needed Trick Room for the Groudon Xerneas matchup. So I needed to pick which one would be more optimal against, depending on what type of team I was facing. I also had a Whimsicott, which is
I noticed, and I was hoping you'd bring up Whimsicott, because this is one of my favorite Pokemon.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Whimsicott's pretty cool. I actually had Togekiss in testing for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and then on Tuesday of this week, I decided it wasn't that great. I put it on the team for the Evoltal matchup. As you can see, I had Crest, Bronzong, and Double Primals. That would have been a tough Evoltal matchup.
Oh, definitely.
And I feel like with Togekiss, I was just using Follow Me, and it wasn't really working out. So I just decided to slap on Whimsicott, and it was pretty cool. Like, I had Tailwind support, too. Just so that was a third form of speed control that I could fire off Eruptions or Water Spouts or P-Blades.
Yeah, so going back to, the finals match here, game 2 I found really interesting because, that Gengar using Trick Room that first turn, were you expecting that? Do you think he was trying to, like, counter your Trick Room? Because it almost felt like he just kind of opened the door and let you just come in and be like, all right, we're on my turf now.
Yeah, I actually expected that because he got second in the International Challenge a couple months ago, and I watched some of his games, and every game he would pretty much lead Kangaskhan, Gengar, and Trick Room Fake Out.
Interesting.
But that was obviously an online tournament where it was best of 1, so people weren't really expecting that. And since I actually knew that this time, and that it was a best of 3, like, there was a chance he wasn't going to bring it, and there was a chance that he would. But I feel like my Kangaskhan Groudon leads would put enough pressure on his team, like, no matter what he led, even if he led the Trick Room Gengar.
Interesting. So I think that about covers it for today. What are your next plans? Are you hitting up any regionals anytime soon?
I might go to Florida in 2 weeks. I'm going to look at plane flights.
All right, I might see you there.
Oh, you'll be there?
Oh, definitely.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
it's me and Adam on commentary again.
Awesome.
So, and I'm going to plug the stream because TJ is doing an amazing job to set up, so that's going to be really awesome. So you should totally go, along with everybody else. I hope you watch. But what about, are you have your sights set on London at all, or maybe some of the winter regionals-ish? Well, December, I guess, isn't winter, but, San Jose or Dallas?
Yeah, I'll probably go to San Jose for sure. Dallas for sure. London, I'm looking at plane flights right now. I got an email subscription to wait till the flights go down in price. It's pretty cheap right now from LA. It's like $500.
Oh,
something
dude,
like that.
that's
So
awesome.
I definitely want to go.
All right.
So we'll see.
Well, spoiler alert, I think Florida might be a little bit more expensive, so maybe we'll see you
It
in
will
London.
be, yeah.
All right. Well, again, Riley, congrats. You did an amazing job. I
Thanks,
really
Abby.
enjoyed watching your battles, and I think the stream did as well. So hopefully we'll see you again really soon. And to all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. This was the 2017 Arizona Regional Championship stream. And we will be back in a couple weeks with more Pokemon, or at least I will. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.
See ya.